So we got spring-like weather today, and I decided that I was going to come down here to our beehives and see what was going on with them, because I figured if there's going to be a day before this winter storm hits that's going to kind of let me know what's going on with my beehives, today would be the day. And we've actually got, it looks like 4 out of the 5 hives are kicking. The one I'm worried about is that one. I'm really worried about blackberry. That is the hive, that is the swarm that we got out of one of our blackberry bushes over here. And I don't see any bees coming in and out. Now that's not a pure indicator, but I'd say it's a strong indicator, because you might notice that all these hives behind me, there are bees coming in and out, if for nothing else other than to bring out their dead. Because it's kind of like Monty Python, like when there's a nice warm spell in the middle of winter, when a lot of bees may have expired, it's bring out your dead, bring out your dead. And that's
bring out your dead.
That's what the bees do. They clean house, they come out to go potty, and they bring out their dead. So let's see which hives look like they've made it. So this is Lilac Hive. This is the hive that went without a queen for a good portion of the summer. And you can see there's quite a bit of action, but look, there's the dead. They've been dropping dead out on the doorstep. So I'd say it's probably safe to say the population here is probably a lot lower than I would like to see it, but there is action going on outside of it. And of course, spunky honey locust hive over here has got some bees coming in and out. For those of you that don't remember, this is the hive that we rescued out of that honey locust tree and stung me in the nose. And we have the tried and true CC hive, that they've got a lot going on there at the entrance. We've got the Buckeye Hive that also has quite a bit going on in the entrance. You can see though, they're bringing out their dead too. Well, maybe they're gonna make me a liar. I've not seen any bees coming in and out of here. So there are some good signs and there are some not so good signs. Now, this one, the Lilac Hive, might be struggling. I have no qualms about honey locust, CC, or Buckeye. I'm just more worried about lilac, and I am worried about the Blackberry Hive. This spring will be my 3rd year beekeeping. I've been really fortunate. I've not lost any of my hives since I started this journey almost 3 years ago. But there's always a first time for everything. Just because it hasn't happened to me in the last couple of years doesn't mean that it can't and won't happen to me. And as much as it kind of breaks my heart to think that in a month or so, I might be breaking into these hives to see that I was right, that that hive didn't make it through the winter. There's something that Kaylee from the Honeystead said during HOA that has just really resonated with me ever since we left there, because beekeeping's been kind of stressful for me. I'm a beginner. I didn't get a mentor. I'm kind of just feeling this all out by myself through YouTube and picking the brains of a few beekeepers that I know locally. And the reason that resonated with me is because a lot of times, even as homesteaders, that we've got these guys here just to pollinate, we might look at a hive that's failed and think it really is a reflection of us. And sometimes it is. Sometimes we make mistakes that cost other beings their lives. And sometimes it's completely out of our hands. But she said that she never looks at a hive that swarms or that dies out as a failed hive, because ultimately they did what they were supposed to do, which is pollinate. So that's kind of given me some peace. And I feel like it's also helped to gear me and to steel my heart and my soul when it comes to beekeeping for that first lost hive. And I feel like this winter is going to be one of my first lost hives. But the only good thing about that is, even though that they might die and they might not survive the winter, they're leaving me drawn comb. If I get in there quick enough, they're leaving me honey, and they're leaving me an empty box that I can house a swarm in the next season. So there's really not a failure there. It's all on perspective. And I'm really thankful that we got to hear Kaylee at HOA to give me that perspective, because then I won't beat myself up too incredibly much if we do end up losing a hive or two. So I came flying out here because there was actually a possum like at the front of this hive And of course we came out and it's runoff and everything, but I decided because it's about 46 degrees today and a lot of bees are flying. So the honey locust hive is flying, the CC hive is flying, that was a wild caught swarm, and then we've got our buckeye hive is flying, but there's nothing coming out of the lilac hive and there's nothing coming out of the blackberry hive. And then when I was down here looking, I noticed there's a lot of dead bees like inside that weren't being cleared out. So I cleared some from the door, and I think that lilac hive is definitely dead, and here's why. So these are all bees. Like if I just take this, because I've taken off the entrance, really this should be riling up my girls. There's lots and lots of dead bees, lots of them. And I can already see an issue right here, actually right there. That's a larvae or a grub of some sort. So it looks like they were not robust or strong enough to keep those populations down. But now I'm just kind of looking, kind of just pushing through them, see if maybe, I'd love to see she was a new queen, but she's probably not in there anymore. She's probably dead. And honestly, in healthy hives, on days like today, you'd see a lot of action because we've been in a pretty cold spell here in East Central Indiana. So a lot of bees should actually be flying. They should be coming in and out because they're taking cleansing flights, which is basically they've been going to the bathroom the whole time that they've been in their hives, and they wait for those warm days and then they fly out and they go to the bathroom. So they have cleansing flights, and not to mention all of the bees that have expired in the cold. Usually you'll see that there's a pretty good stream of worker bees taking out the dead. They're really good about keeping a sanitary, clean hive, and that's just not happening with this hive. Now, there might be something going on with blackberry. It probably wouldn't be a terrible thing to pop them open. The circumstances for this are actually pretty opportune. So maybe once I'm done with work, like at 3:30, I will feed everybody and then come over here and pop this open, and we'll have a really quick hive inspection. But I have good feelings for honey locust, the other two original hives, but I don't have high hopes for blackberry hive, and I don't have high hopes for lilac hive. Hopefully when I come back to you guys, we're gonna be suited up and we're gonna be just popping this open to see what's going on with it. See, there's one, she's cleaning. She knows. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pretty much open up the lilac hive. This is a hive that we got called out to by a friend to come grab this swarm, and I was happy to take the swarm, but it was just one of those deals where the queen had split from the swarm that was left on the lilac bush, and we recovered those bees, but we didn't recover the queen because we didn't know, but she'd flown up into a tree and there was a second swarm ball forming, and these bees were just kind of residual on her pheromones. So we didn't get the queen the first go with this hive. So I found out a little bit late and requeened these guys. I think it was like in July or August, but even then, especially in the wintertime when we were closing these guys up in the fall, we knew there was a slim chance that these guys were gonna live. Very slim. And I just don't think that they survived. So I'm gonna go ahead and open them up. This isn't the normal. Usually I would never open them up, even on 40 or 50 degree days. Like in January, we didn't feed, we didn't put any quilt boxes on. We're kind of just letting them do their thing. We might change that next year, especially because I don't want to lose more hives. I'm still going to be moving very softly around this hive, and the reason for that being, if there is any residual bees in here that are clinging to life, I want to kind of give them a chance. So I'm going to try not to disturb them any more than I have to. So this is going to be like really quick. This is going to be me hurry up, getting in there, looking to see if there's any life, and closing them back up if there is. And then if there's not, I'll try to figure out what I'm going to do from there, but probably I will just leave this hive out here and let my other beehives rob it out, take what they want from it, because there's still going to be some foundations in here. If there's any honey to be robbed, then I would rather my hives take it than me feed them. So, and usually when I pop, I would hear a hum, because the bees would all of a sudden become really irritated and I'm not hearing a hum. So go in and confirm. Yeah, this hive's dead. This hive did not make it. Did not make it. They're dead. This is kind of a little disappointing, but this does happen. This is a part of it. But look, they're leaving me nice drawn comb. I'm just looking for any stores now because they got started so late and they didn't have enough time or enough workers or manpower to really draw out comb to make storage. I did borrow a couple of frames from my stronger hives to put in here to try to help to get them through the winter, but apparently that it was unsuccessful. That happens. This could have been, they could have starved, which I'm going to bet they're probably starved. There could have been moisture in here when we got a hard freeze and they froze. See, there's butts. Okay, so here's the first frame, and you kind of see like how this looks a lot lighter. This is all stuff that's been chewed up. There might have been robbing that's been happening here, but you can see there's uncapped honey or honey that hasn't been dehydrated quite yet that they've stored up and never got to. There's some capped honey, and then in here you guys see these little bee bottoms. Those usually mean that they've starved, that they went in there looking for food and they starved. I think. Yeah, you guys can just see there's just bees just clung. Bee butts. There's still quite a bit of food in here, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, there's still honey and stuff. I don't know if they got cold or I don't. Well, see, this looks like capped brood. So you guys can see that this circle right here, this is all capped brood. It looks different than the capped honey, so I still had a little bit of capped brood. So I'm wondering, like, these guys might have been not well off well before it got bad. Then you guys can see in the bottom there's just, it is littered with dead bees, and there has been some robbing because I can see some cappings there at the bottom, but for the most part they got robbed out, but there's still some honey right there. You guys can see there's this cluster of bees right here. It almost looks kind of like a retinue, but I don't know. I'm gonna keep going and look, but there's just, this is so disappointing, but this is a part of beekeeping too, and their lives weren't wasted. They did pollinate a lot of plants while they were still alive. So with losing this hive, I've decided that I am going to go ahead and take the rest of what's left of this hive, and I'm going to take all of the frames that have any built out wax, and I'm going to freeze those. I might even keep them in my freezer until spring, and that should take care of any diseases, any varroa mites, or anything that might be trying to overwinter in the drawn out wax. It's kind of just a little bit of an insurance policy to keep the next generation of bees that come into this hive, because I will not waste this drawn comb. I won't waste any of the stores. I will make sure that these are used next year, because I'm sure that we'll probably have swarms, splits, who knows. I just don't want to throw away any resource that I could possibly use for future bees in this hive. So I'm going to go ahead and put these frames in my freezer. If they don't have any drawn out comb or anything, I'm just going to go ahead and store them in my barn with the rest of my beekeeping supplies. So as I'm out here putting up my failed hive, I'm going to try not to say that this is not a failed hive, because remember, bees have a specific purpose, and that is to pollinate. The bees that lived in this hive when they were alive and when they were flying, when there was growth in plants and fruits and vegetables growing in gardens all around this area, these gals were out doing their job. They were pollinating. They are pollinators. That's what they are supposed to do. So even though this experience might not have lived up to my expectation, in all honesty, they did exactly what they were supposed to, regardless of whether I think my experience with them has been successful or a failure. So I'm going to keep putting that in my mind, because I cannot let experiences like this, see, notice I didn't say failures, an experience like this, I'm not going to let it define me. As a beekeeper, as a homesteader, as a livestock enthusiast, there are just going to be times in your life where your expectations are really high and things happen. or we don't meet those expectations. Sometimes we make mistakes because we're human. Sometimes things happen that we didn't know could happen, that there's no way we could prepare for, and we're just left with the aftermath and trying to make a good experience out of that and taking those experiences into the next chapter, into the next growing season, the next kidding season, the next beekeeping season. And that's up to us. That's all up here. That is our mentality. We are in charge of how we take experiences and how we let them mold us. Not define us, but how we let the experiences, where they don't end up as great as you would have hoped, like this here hive, that in some aspects it's my fault, in other aspects the bees just weren't strong enough. There was a series of events that just did not line up for this hive to survive. That would have happened in nature. If these bees were feral, there would be a time where maybe they didn't go into the winter time as healthy, as strong, as vibrant as they needed to get through a tough winter. And Mother Nature will cull genetics or members of a species that just are not strong enough to live and pass on genetics to the next generation. And sadly, that's what was going on with this hive. But I'm not going to let that define my beekeeping experience. We're getting ready to go into another grow season, another kidding season, another beekeeping season, and I'm just going to take my experiences here and let them mold how I do things differently in the next season. Maybe I will start treating for varroa mites. Maybe I will start putting quilt boxes on the top of my hives to help with moisture. Maybe I'll do candy boards. I don't know. I just have to take in this experience and this outcome and really stop and think about it and stew and figure out how this is going to change how I do things in the upcoming year, because it probably will. I'm not sure in what way or what manner. I think it really depends on how our beekeeping season goes for 2022. If we've got lots of swarm catches, or we've got splits, or they're just really vibrant, they're just really, really lively bees, it might make or break. It might depend on a hive inspection in late season that helps me to decide what I'm actually going to do for my bees in the next beekeeping season. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this impromptu beekeeping video in February. I have to admit, it feels really alien being in my hives in February, but it also feels alien for it to be 50 in February here in East Central Indiana. But I hope that you guys enjoyed that video. I'm hoping that in the next season I'll be able to take some of the lessons that I've learned and that I've brought you along with me while I've learned, that'll help to mold me into a better beekeeper, making better decisions for my bees and for my homestead. But if you guys found yourself really enjoying the video today, let me know. Leave me a comment down below. What do you think was the demise of those bees? I know that I've got quite a few seasoned beekeepers that like to watch the beekeeping videos. I'm a noob, and I invite any type of constructive criticism to help me be better for my bees in the next season. Make sure that you leave me a like, and if you want to keep up with us, make sure that you subscribe. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate the time you give us. We hope that you are all staying healthy out there and being kind to one another. We will catch you in the next one. God bless you. Bye, y'all.